Good afternoon. How are we doing? Good. Wonderful. Wonderful. To all of you, of course, in the room today and those of you joining us online, a very warm welcome to the UBS Center Forum 2024 edition. This is the place where I would encourage you to put your hands together. There we go. Let's bring up the energy in the room just a little bit. My name is Ana Maria Montero, as you've seen on various screens already. I am honored to be your guide today and to spend this next couple of hours with you looking at the hype surrounding AI and getting over that a little bit by focusing on what's really happening. So, how is AI promoting economic growth and who will benefit most from it? Does AI have the potential to really increase prosperity and lower inequalities? What are the long-term economic implications of AI-driven automation and much, much more, especially when it comes to the global labor markets? Now, all of these questions we're going to be diving into, as we said, over the course of the forum, with the help of a very esteemed group of experts who are coming from academia, research, economy, and business. But we are also hoping to hear from all of you, and we're going to tell you about that in just a moment. If we look briefly at the agenda, you'll see that the event is broken down into basically two parts, right? The first part, we're going to be looking at AI's role in the economy. We're going to have a coffee break. And then we're going to be looking at AI's role in the labor market. Now, in both of these halves, we're going to be highlighting a keynote speaker, and then we're going to be having a panel discussion following that. And that will be the same for the second half. And then we're going to be officially ending the evening with the Research Slam that's going to be happening outside in the foyer and an apero for everyone that registered. All right, so lots to look forward to. As I mentioned earlier, this is meant to be an interactive discussion. So this means that we want to hear from all of you. How many of you have used Mentimeter? Okay, all right, so for some of you, sorry, I'm just going to go through it quickly. For those of you that have not used Mentimeter, it's very easy. You just have to scan the QR codes that you see on the various screens. There we go. Good job. Very well. Okay, and then you're going to put in that code, and that will take you directly to our Mentimeter site. This is the same for all of you watching us online as well. So then feel free to put in your questions, which we will be addressing at the end of both panels. We'll reserve some time to make sure that we hear from all of you and address your questions. And we're also going to be using them to do a couple of poll questions with all of you. So we expect participation. Make sure that you scan that QR code so that you can be part of the polls, the Q&As. And lastly, if you are not comfortable with Mentimeter or just prefer to use a microphone during the Q&A sessions, we have those too. So just feel free to raise your hand and someone will come with a microphone. Okay, one of the last bits. Unfortunately, in this room, given that it's a bit below ground, we have poor internet reception. Okay, I think some of you have already figured that out. Well, if you've gone onto Wi-Fi, you will also have seen that Carium Auditorium also has its own Wi-Fi. So go ahead and click on that one. It's super easy. There's no registration. You don't have to fill anything out. Just click. It works. And that way you'll be connected and can participate. Are we good? Okay, perfect. And lastly, you are welcome, of course, to use social media. If you post or you want to share, you want to take photos, whatever the case may be, feel absolutely free. We also just invite you to use the hashtag Economics for Society. All right, so now that I have all of that out of the way, thank you for your patience. Let's get started. Our first keynote speaker today is a professor at MIT, but to simply call him an academic would be an understatement. A pioneer at the intersection of behavioral economics, machine learning, and public policy, his research has influenced everything from how we design healthcare systems to how we address poverty, and even how we tackle climate change. A MacArthur Genius Fellow and co-author of the influential book Scarcity, he holds the first joint appointment between the MIT Economics and computer science departments, where he is the Peter de Flores Professor. Today, he's going to help us kick off the forum by challenging us. He's going to challenge us to rethink our assumptions and explore innovative solutions to some of society's toughest problems. Please help me give a warm, warm welcome to Sendil Mulainathan. Okay, all right. So just to kind of get us started here. Of course, AI is often described as a game changer, right, for the global economy. I think that's the word, AI and then game changing, with promises that range from solving labor shortages to driving unprecedented innovation. But of course, this comes with a growing skepticism about whether these promises really match up to reality, right? So given your diverse backgrounds, we're going to quickly, whatever comes to mind first, on a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest. How overhyped is AI's current role in the global economy, and why? Gregory.
8.
Okay.
Okay. Why? Because I think that while what we've seen in large language models is genuinely revolutionary for language applications, and I don't think it's necessarily overhyped from a societal perspective in terms of language use cases. It may be overhyped in terms of stock valuations because there's some competition that will hopefully distribute those rents to consumers. But I have, and I'm happy to drill deeper in that conversation, I question its whether it's a general purpose technology. That same model is a general purpose technology for other very large mainstream use cases. I think we're going to need to see sort of comparable models to be built, and that's going to be expensive.
I'm wondering what you think to that, but we'll get there. Katrin, on a scale of 1 to 10.
It depends. I would say I would go rather low, 4 maybe. But if you listen to some of the more fearful reports about AI, you could say it's overhyped at the level of 10 and 10 plus, because there's things that are talked about that AI will definitely not be doing, and not, if we set the right direction at this point in time, but there's a lot we can do to make it very positive for us. The other reason I say 4 is because I already see a lot of application that is very real. So we have research cycles for medication being shortened dramatically. We have research cycles for, inventing better batteries shortened dramatically. We have, machine-human interaction made a lot easier and, to the benefit of humans today, using that kind of technology. So I can go into more and more examples of that, but I can see with our customers that this is making a real difference in day-to-day lives and business.
All right.
So I'm going to give 2 numbers, because economists, what's the old
No
joke?
surprise there.
Economists have 2 hands.
Yes.
So, and I think it's very similar to what you said. I think I'd give a 1 and a 10, which is, I think the 1 is very much, I am so optimistic about what can be done. I think it is unbelievably powerful. The 10, because I think when Europeans landed in the Americas, one of the tragedies was they brought with them viruses to which natives did not have any defenses, and it's just these diseases wiped through. When I look at these large language models, they are in many ways a virus like that, but for the mind. And here is their effect on the mind. We sit with them, we use them. It is impossible for us not to believe, oh my God, this thing is intelligent. It's just very hard. They talk to you as if it's a person. It has conversations. That virus, that thing which on the surface looks human and intelligent, but actually behind the scenes it is not what you think and has no intelligence, that's the virus that is sweeping through today, and it has led to some insane hype where it's almost frustrating, where you're like, wow, we did this very cool thing, we did this, discovered problems of judges, and people are like, can't you just ask ChatGPT and have it tell you the answer? I'm like, what are we even talking about here? It's not a magic box. So I'm torn between the 10 and the 1, which is, I think, what you were saying, yeah.
Before your talk, David, we did ask the audience a poll question, which is what concerned them the most about AI. So we're going to start by just having a look at that and figuring out, okay, so of all of the things that were listed there, what is their most concern about? Okay. And job loss is not the biggest concern, all right? Privacy and bias is the biggest concern, 44%. Huh. Am I the only one going, huh? No. What do you say?
Well,
Anybody, take it.
I already said that I agree that job loss shouldn't be our biggest concern, and so I'm clearly with the other two groups here.
Yeah.
I just wanted to say David did a really good job, but it was asked before you did your speech, so.
That's true.
That was on purpose, it was on purpose. We were
But you know,
to see.
it's striking how we see these media reports that really come with these enormous claims, and I think have the potential to really make people worry. And I do think it's good to see that many folks, realize that maybe you shouldn't take this, you should take this with a grain of salt when you see these AI apocalypse scenarios.
Mm-hmm. So maybe is there potentially a hype around the AI apocalypse?
Media wants attention, right? And so if you say this will be something that has massive impacts and is super dramatic, that gives you probably more clicks than when you say it might be more of a gradual transformation and, don't worry much, tomorrow will still look similar to today.
Mm-hmm. So Jannik, for example, do you see AI as being transformative or disruptive when it comes to employment?
Well, actually, probably a bit of both, right? In that particular sense, this polarization, which David just mentioned, that's what you indeed see in the media. They either pick the one side or they pick the other side, and the truth is probably somewhere in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Valerio?
So, same question, or about?
Yes.
Bias?
We're just kind of trying to get a feel for.
Okay, so now
where
I
you're
wanted
at.
to say something about bias
Please.
because I completely agree that is an important issue, and I would like to add that it's also a very difficult issue to overcome because if you try to remove bias, usually you create other biases.
That's a good point.
Yeah, so for example, we have a paper coming out where we look at gender biases in moral dilemmas, like where you are allowed to sacrifice a person for the greater good. So if you ask ChatGPT whether it is okay to abuse a woman to prevent a nuclear apocalypse, it says strongly disagree 100% of the times. You ask 50 times, and 50 times it says strongly disagree. If you ask it, is it okay to abuse a man to prevent a nuclear apocalypse? It says, yes, why not?
Okay.
And we argue that this comes from the fact that there is a lot of attention about gender parity, and of course this is very good, but probably the engineers have put some filters such that now it completely overruled every reasonable opinion and completely so it creates basically the opposite bias. And then there is research showing that every time, so it's a theoretical research, that every time you try to address a bias, you create another bias. So this is really a difficult problem to address.
I'm not even begin to ask how you resolve that. I'll take that as we'll talk about that over an apero. There we go. So actually, I want to start with focusing a bit then on productivity, right? AI-driven productivity. A big selling point, of course, of Gen AI is that it is expected at least to drive significant productivity gains. So Christine, in a recent report commissioned by Google entitled The Economic Opportunity of AI in Switzerland, generative AI could boost Switzerland's GDP by 80 to 85 billion Swiss francs annually, potentially adding up to 11% in peak years. Where or how do you see these gains playing out, and how is Google